Part 56. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 551. They knew nothing except that Lu Feng had personally led his army northward. Just when Li Jiancheng was puzzled, a thin figure suddenly ran out from the Dragon Kingdom formation. This man looked like a sick ghost and was as skinny as a stick, but he held a pair of huge sledgehammers in his hands. Look, isn't that King Zhao? Why is he in the Dragon Kingdom's formation? The person who came was Li Yuanba, the fourth brother of Li Jiancheng, the king of Zhao of the Tang dynasty. However, because Li Yuanba was planned to be surrounded and killed by Li Yuanji, he was far away in Yangzhou, and Li Jiancheng and Li Yuanji deliberately concealed it, so they knew that Li Yuanba had returned to the Dragon Kingdom. There are not many people. Of course, Li Jiancheng Euro trademark's private explanation for this is that Li Ziyuning secretly colluded with the Dragon Kingdom to kill Li Shimin, and then she fled to the Dragon Kingdom and instigated Li Yuanba Euro trademark's rebellion. However, this cannot withstand scrutiny after all, so Li Jiancheng did not. This matter was not publicized in a big way. Only core members of the Tang dynasty such as Su Mogong, Wang Bodang, and Fang Xianling knew about it. Besides them, many people were a little confused because they did not see Li Yuanba after joining Li Yuanji's army. They were confused, but because Li Yuanba behaved strangely and had no contact with other people, they didn't think much about it. But now Li Yuanba openly rode out from the Dragon Kingdom's army, and his posture seemed to be that he defected to the Dragon Kingdom and wanted to become an enemy of the Tang dynasty, which made many people look surprised. When Li Jiancheng saw this, his expression changed slightly, but fortunately, he had already expected that Li Yuanba must have known about him. If he killed Li Shimin, he would definitely jump out to take revenge, so he had thought of a way to deal with it in advance. So Li Jiancheng said to the surrounding Tang soldiers, that bitch Li Ning hooked up with the Dragon Emperor and killed Li Shimin. Now, then he deceived Li Yuanba into the Dragon Kingdom. Now that Li Yuanba has betrayed the Tang dynasty, and Li Ziyuning is the only one who backs the Tang dynasty, he will only die. The archers are ready to shoot him to death with arrows. Fang Xianling, Du Ruhui, and others hearing Cheng's words, they couldn't help but be slightly startled. They didn't expect that Li Jiancheng would treat his brothers so decisively. However, everyone knows Li Yuanba's military power. When Datang killed Wang Shishang that day, it was Li Yuanba who blasted open the city gate of Luoyang with 2 hammers, allowing Datang's army to enter. Therefore, if he is allowed to rush over, the city gates of Luka will not be able to block his blow. When the time comes, people like him will be like turtles in an urn on top of the city, with no place to escape. Therefore, shooting arrows is indeed the best way to prevent Li Yuanba from coming. In this life and death situation, nothing is as important as one's own life, so naturally no one objects to Li Jiancheng's order. As soon as Li Jiancheng finished speaking, 20,000 archers who had been prepared on the wall of Luka immediately stood up, bent their bows and nocked arrows. As soon as Li Yuanba entered the shooting range, the bowstrings in their hands were loosened, and arrows shot out towards Li Yuanba. However, as Li Yuanba was a Wuji warrior, a mere bow and arrow could not hurt him. Li Yuanba was seen holding a pair of drums, urns, and golden hammers in his hands, waving his arms, pretending to be airtight, and for a moment there was no arrow able to penetrate his defenses. In addition, Li Yuanba not only kept working hard, but also opened his mouth to curse Li Jiancheng at the same time. To read the underlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 552. Li Yuanba. As soon as these words were spoken, it was like throwing a huge boulder on a calm lake. It immediately caused an uproar among Li Tang's army. Many people who did not know the truth changed their expressions and looked at Li Jiancheng. Li Jiancheng didn't expect that Li Yuanba's intelligence would be able to say such words. When he suddenly heard this, he couldn't think of a way to respond. Seeing this, Fang Xianling sighed slightly in her heart, and then shouted to Li Yuanba, as our King Zhao of the Tang dynasty, you are the son of the late emperor and the younger brother of the current majesty. It can be said that the whole world belongs to you. The world of the Li family. However, you betrayed your father and brother and took refuge in the enemy country. This is already a crime of treason and should be executed according to law. But we all know that you are mentally ill and must have been deceived by traitors, so we will accept this. But you still dare to slander His Majesty and try to sow discord at this time. What is your intention? Your Majesty has clearly investigated the death of King Qin. It was Li Ziyuning's collusion with the Dragon Kingdom. This has been concluded. You were not in Chang'an that day, how can you know who killed King Qin? Could it be that the Dragon Emperor taught you to say these words? Fang Xianling is still a top strategist after all. Not only is his brain responsive, but he is also eloquent. After finishing his words, not only the people who had just suspected Li Jiancheng had no other ideas, and they also pointed out that it was the Dragon Emperor who deliberately sowed discord. Li Jiancheng was still thinking about his response, but when he saw that Fang Xuanling's words had an effect he had never expected, he felt a lot more at ease, and at the same time he was glad that he had brought it with him. In fact, with Fang Xuanling's eyesight, how could he not see that Li Shimin and Li Jiancheng were directly related, but at this time the two armies were fighting, and Li Yuanba's words destroyed the military morale of the Tang soldiers. If the Tang army was disintegrated due to this, and there was even a quarrel between the generals, then the Tang dynasty would have lost the battle without fighting, and it would be better to open the city and surrender. Du Ruhui, who was standing next to Fang Xianling, took a deep look at Fang Xianling. Like Fang Xianling, he was a top strategist. Naturally, he could see the clues, but he also knew the meaning of Fang Xuanling's words. He didn't say much about this. Although both of them were supporters of Li Shimin, both Li Shimin and Li Jiancheng represented Li Tang. Internally, they can make suggestions for the confrontation between Li Shimin and Li Jiancheng, but externally, they must preserve Li Tang's reputation and victory. In addition to the two of them, Li Jing, one of the most relied upon military commanders of the Tang dynasty, also stood at the edge, squinting his eyes and looking at the Dragon Kingdom's army. He did not speak and no one knew what he was thinking. At the same time, Su Mogong turned around and shouted, King Zhao Li Yuanba has betrayed the Tang dynasty and listened to the slanders of the Long Kingdom's traitors in an attempt to sow discord. Get your crossbow ready and shoot him to death. The three bed crossbows were all aimed at Li Yuanba. With three muffled buzzing sounds, the soldier controlling the bed crossbows shot Li Yuanba with a crossbow arrow that was a foot long and as thick as a bowl. Feeler reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 553. Not to mention the terrifying power that the crossbow arrows shot by the huge bed crossbow carry. Just talking about the huge crossbow arrows, which are like thickened spears several times, require 2 people to work together. Lift it to the crossbow on the bed. To shoot such a small tree trunk-like crossbow arrow, this crossbow naturally requires huge strength. Even if there is a house within 100 steps, the crossbow arrow can completely penetrate the wall of the house. However, facing such a huge crossbow with terrifying kinetic energy, Li Yuanba was not afraid at all. Instead, he shouted excitedly, "Good, come." Then, Li Yuanba was seen staring closely at the people who came one after another. The 3 giant crossbow arrows were shot, and he swung his double hammers with all his strength at the same time, aiming at the 2 crossbow arrows in front and flicking them upwards. With two huge crisp sounds, Li Yuanba actually hit the tip of the crossbow arrow steadily with his hammer and smashed it into the sky. Then facing the last flying crossbow arrow, he once again used his double hammers to clamp it from the outside inward, and actually used the spherical sledgehammer to firmly clamp the crossbow arrow. Seeing this scene, both Li Jiancheng and Su Mogong were all shocked. However, before they could react, Li Yuanba said, "Li Jiancheng, you are a despicable and shameless villain. You dare not admit what you have done, but instead you also want to kill someone to silence me. It's not enough for you to kill Chang Sunwuji. You actually want to kill your own sister. You are afraid that Yuanba will take revenge on you if he knows that you killed me, so you let Li Yuanji, a bitch, plan to kill Yuanba. Ita Euro trademark s. Not that my sister persuaded the Dragon Emperor to rescue him, Yuanba even knew how he died." Of course, as Fang Xianling guessed, with Li Yuanba Euro trademark s ability and such words, these are all Lu Feng taught him personally and asked him to memorize it and teach it to his Tang soldiers. The more Li Yuanba spoke, the angrier he became. After saying the last sentence, he held the huge crossbow arrow in his hand, and then threw the javelin at the city wall of Lucca with force. What was surprising was that the power he threw with both hands was actually it is not inferior to the power shot by that huge bed crossbow. Seeing this, Li Tang officials and soldiers on the city wall hurriedly ran away from the landing range of the crossbow arrow. With a loud noise and smoke, the crossbow arrow penetrated straight into the city wall. Seeing this scene, all Li Tang soldiers and officials were shocked. Even the city walls could not stop such a terrifying force. If they had not avoided it just now, they would have been shot through. However, while everyone was afraid, they were also thinking about what Li Yuanba just said, and the more they thought about it, the more it made sense. As we all know, due to his lack of intelligence and strange strength, Li Yuanba not only had no friends, but even his family was reluctant to talk to him. The only one he had good friends with was the king of Qin, Li Shimin. These are not secrets in the Tang dynasty. It can be said that all officials and even the people are very aware of this. It is precisely because Li Shimin treats Li Yuanba sincerely that Li Yuanba only listens to Li Shimin's words. Therefore, if Li Shimin's death was really done by Li Ziyuning and people from the Dragon Kingdom as Li Jiancheng said, how could Li Yuanba betray Li Jiancheng and defect to the Dragon Kingdom together with Li Ziyuning? To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 554. Moreover, Li Jiancheng said that besides Li Ziyuning, Chang Sunwuji was also the one who colluded with the Dragon Kingdom to kill the king of Qin. However, as we all know, Chang Sunwuji was definitely the most loyal supporter of His Highness the King of Qin. Not only did he take the initiative to befriend Li Shimin when Li Shimin first rose to prominence, but he also often said good things about Li Shimin in front of Li Yuan, and even made an engagement with Li Shimin for his only sister. It can be said that if Li Shimin becomes emperor, the Chang Sun family will definitely become the most wealthy family in the Tang Empire in the future. Under such circumstances, how could Chang Sunwuji cut off his future and murder Li Shimin? In addition to the murder of King Qin, even the sudden abdication of the late Emperor Li Yuan and the passing of the throne to Li Jiancheng are full of doubts. If it is true, as Li Jiancheng said, that Li Yuan passed the throne to him because he was ill and unable to continue to govern, then he should not just leave an edict, but should announce the matter to the court the next morning and hold abdication ceremony. However, since Li Yuan abdicated, no one except Li Jiancheng has seen Li Yuan, and people don't even know whether Li Yuan is dead or alive. Although they had doubts before this incident, after all, the successor to the throne was Li Jiancheng, who had just obtained the title of prince. It can be said that the throne was his long ago, so people did not expect that he would be so impatient to force the throne. As for Li Shimin's death, everyone had doubts before, but because all the evidence was searched out by Li Jiancheng himself, no one thought about it deeply. But now that Li Yuanba has made all these things clear, whether this is fact or Li Yuanba's speculation, at least it is completely reasonable. As a result, many ministers who originally supported Li Shimin looked at Li Jiancheng with a different look. Even Fang Xianling did not speak out to defend Li Jiancheng. After all, if what Li Yuanba said was true, then what Li Jiancheng did was indeed too much. Although they still had great feelings for Li Shimin and Li Tang, Li Jiancheng completely put their feelings for Li Shimin and Li Tang under his feet. At this time, Li Jiancheng saw everyone looking at him with doubts, and he suddenly became angry with shame. Said, "Do you just not believe me? Li Yuanba is just a fool. He was deceived by the Dragon Emperor and Li Ziyuning. These words were taught to him by the Dragon Emperor. The purpose is to make you no longer believe in me, so that you can no longer believe in me, internally disintegrate Li Tang. You are all wise men, don't you have any judgment?" After Li Jiancheng yelled, he turned to the soldier controlling the bed crossbow and shouted, "What are you waiting for? Do you want Li Yuanba to continue talking? Everyone is deceived, why don't you shoot him to death?" After being scolded by Li Jiancheng, the soldier controlling the crossbow immediately panicked, hurriedly adjusted the direction of the crossbow to aim at Li Yuanba, and quickly launched an attack. Although Li Yuanba had just blocked all 3 crossbow arrows, it took a lot of effort. At this time, facing more giant crossbow arrows, he was still somewhat overwhelmed. But at this moment, Lu Feng also rushed over with 5 peerless generals, Lu Buletin, Dian Wei, Huang Zhong, Zhang Liao and Tai Shi Ci, preparing to help him withstand these crossbow arrows. Filu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 555. Lu Feng is a supreme general. Although those powerful crossbows can cause some trouble to Li Yuanba, for Lu Feng, they are not difficult at all. Lu Feng was holding a 10-foot-long black jade spear, and its attack range was much larger than that of Li Yuanba, so there was no need to wait for the crossbow arrows to reach him before hurriedly blocking them. He was far away, and he could just pick a crossbow with one shot. A crossbow arrow flew away. The rest of them, like Lu Buletin, Zhang Liao and Tai Shi Ci, also used long weapons, so they could easily deflect the crossbow arrows. However, Huang Zhong and Dian Wei suffered the disadvantage of weapons. After all, the red blood sword was not a long sword, and the black iron double halberd was just a short halberd that was about the same length as a sword. So Dian Wei and Huang Zhong resisted the crossbow arrows for a while, and then they were overwhelmed. Upon seeing this, Lu Feng shouted to several people around him, "Ela, Han Sheng, you two don't worry about these crossbows. Use your halberd and bow and arrows to shoot the man on the wall who controls the crossbow to death. Feng Xian, you go protect Han Sheng and Dian Wei and ensure their safety." After Lu Feng finished speaking, the 3 of them took their orders. Lu Buletin strangled the red rabbit horse and rushed to Dian Wei and Huang Zhong in an instant. Hold the bottom part of Fang Tian's painted halberd to maximize the attack range. Dian Wei put the 2 halberds on his back, took out several small halberds from his arms, and threw them towards the city wall. As for Huang Zhong, he also sheathed the red blood knife, took off the iron bow behind him, took out 3 arrows from the quiver, opened the bow, closed his left eye and opened the right eye, and shot 3 arrows in a row. Immediately afterwards, the soldiers on the top of the city of Lucca who were struggling to control the crossbows to shoot at the generals heard screams one after another. Li Jiancheng turned around and saw that their necks were either pierced by bows and arrows, and they wanted a palm-sized weapon. Small halberd. Seeing this scene, Li Jiancheng and all the officials of the Tang dynasty were shocked. Although they saw Huang Zhong and Dian Wei using long-range weapons, they did not pay attention. After all, they were 100 steps away from the city wall, and they were shooting from bottom to top. In their minds, such a distance and angle was almost impossible to pose a threat. However, the fact is that these two people not only posed a huge threat, but also directly eliminated the people on their side who could threaten the other party. With the accuracy of Dian Wei and Huang Zhong, if they had targeted Li Jiancheng, I'm afraid he would have become a corpse by now. However, both Huang Zhong and Dian Wei knew that Lu Feng had promised Li Yuanba to help him take revenge and would let him kill Li Jiancheng himself, so the two of them did not interfere at this time. They just followed Lu Feng's order to kill the bed crossbowman. Kill. Now that the threat of the bed crossbow has been eliminated, the army can directly launch an attack in the remaining time. So Lu Feng turned to look at the Dragon Kingdom soldiers behind him, raised his spear high, and said to them, "Dragon Kingdom soldiers, do you still remember what I once said? What should we do to deal with the enemy?" Lu Feng finished speaking. The 100,000 Dragon Kingdom soldiers who had just crossed over shouted with all their strength, "Anyone who offends us, the Han people, will be punished no matter how far away they are, and anyone who bullies us, the Han people, will be repaid 100 times. Facing the pride of the Dragon Kingdom soldiers, in reply, Lu Feng nodded with satisfaction. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 556. Then he asked, "Do you still remember the purpose of our coming here?" This time, the army of 100,000 shouted in unison again, "Let the descendants of the dragon become thousands of worlds, the masters of various countries." These two simple questions and answers made all the soldiers of the Tang dynasty, even Li Ziyuning and Li Yuanba, excited. Although the Li family has the blood of the Hu people, they have always regarded themselves as Han people. After all, since Liu Bang established the Han dynasty, all the people in the Central Plains are not proud to be Han people. At this time, everyone heard the words of the Dragon Kingdom soldiers, who cannot be proud to be Han people. In addition to Li Yuanba and Li Ziyuning, even the 100,000 soldiers who surrendered from the Sui dynasty, Chu Kingdom, and Liang Kingdom were all excited. If they were feeling depressed before because they took refuge with an unreliable lord and ended up being defeated and captured, now they have swept away all their previous depression and tried every means to become a regular army of the Dragon Kingdom. On the other hand, the Li and Tang soldiers in Lucca City all felt ashamed. Some of them lowered their heads and did not dare to look directly into the eyes of the Dragon Kingdom soldiers, while others cast envious glances at the Dragon Kingdom soldiers. The goal of the Emperor and soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom is to eliminate all alien races so that the Han people will no longer be invaded by alien races and make the Han people the masters of the world. Although this goal seemed too ambitious and unrealistic, they felt that this goal was not unachievable after seeing the might of the Dragon Emperor and Li Yuanba, as well as the combat effectiveness of other generals and troops of the Dragon Kingdom. In contrast, the emperor of the Tang dynasty was caught in the whirlpool of public opinion for killing his younger brother and forcing his father to abdicate for the throne. Comparing the two, the winner will be judged. At this moment, the soldiers of the Tang dynasty fell to the bottom. When Fang Xianling, Du Ruhui, Li Jing, and others saw this scene, their expressions all changed greatly. They did not expect that the Dragon Emperor would use just 2 sentences to make the difference in the momentum of the two sides and defeat the enemy without fighting. This is probably the case. But Lu Feng obviously had no intention of giving up. After speaking to the Long Kingdom soldiers, he turned to look at the Tang soldiers in Lucca and said to them, "Soldiers of the Tang dynasty, have you ever thought about your own identity? You are Han people, but you don't a Euro trademark T think about guarding the borders for the Han people and resisting foreigners. When the Turks are not eliminated and may go south to wreak havoc at any time, you continue to have wars with the Han countries. Have you ever thought about what would happen if you were at this time? The Turks took advantage of the fact that the main army of the Tang dynasty was in Lucca and invaded south. Will the relatives and parents behind you be able to survive under the iron heel of the Turks? Lu Feng's words made the soldiers of the Tang dynasty anxious. His face instantly became serious. In fact, Li Jiancheng had Fang Xianling, Du Ruhui, Su Mogong and other far-reaching and resourceful people under him. How could they not think of such a basic thing as preventing a Turkic invasion? Naturally, they had already made complete preparations. But the soldiers of the Tang dynasty did not expect this at all, and they did not know the plans of Fang Xianling and others. Therefore, as soon as Lu Feng said this, they immediately became worried about their parents and relatives at home. Seeing the increasingly anxious expressions on the faces of Li Tang's soldiers, Su Mogong said hurriedly. Feeler reminds you, 3 things to do when reading, collect and recommend. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 557. Your Majesty, the Dragon Emperor opened his mouth so powerfully that we cannot let him continue talking, otherwise the soldiers will surrender without even fighting in this battle. How could Li Jiancheng fail to see that the morale of his own soldiers was rapidly falling to the bottom? His eyes were spitting fire, and he immediately ordered the army to leave the city to fight. At the same time, he gritted his teeth and said, as the Emperor of the Dragon Kingdom, Lu Feng has so many fierce generals under his command, so he should unlikely to fight in person. Pei Yuanqing, you go and block Li Yuanba. The rest of you must also be careful of other Dragon Kingdom generals. Try to cooperate with the soldiers to fight with fewer soldiers, and don't fight with them. Li Jiancheng originally led a 1,000,000-strong army to attack Yangzhou, but he received a report from a scout on the way and learned that Lu Feng was also leading an army north to launch an attack. Li Jiancheng believed that the Tang dynasty had the most powerful troops and was the best in the world, so he took the initiative to attack Long. It is natural for the country to be peaceful, but the Dragon Kingdom only has 20,000 direct lineage main troops and dares to take the initiative to go north. How can Li Jiancheng endure this? In Li Jiancheng's view, I am stronger than you, and you have to endure it if I beat you, but you, if you dare to take the initiative to attack me, you are overestimating your own capabilities and not taking me seriously. Since you are floating, I will concentrate on defeating you. So after learning that Lu Feng led his army to the north, Li Jiancheng will stay behind. All the armies from all over the Tang dynasty were mobilized to Lucca, and now there are 3 million people. With 3 million troops facing the 2 soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom, how could Li Jiancheng still be afraid? Even the generals of the Dragon Kingdom, all of them are worthless, but they also have Yu Qigong, Wang Bodang and others on their side. Even if they can't defeat them in a single fight, they can still be more or less able to cooperate with the soldiers to swarm them. As for the one who once chased 2 million by himself, Li Yuanba had been marching for several miles, and Li Jiancheng could only hope that Pei Yuanqing could block him. He did not expect Pei Yuanqing to defeat him, as long as he entangled him so that he could not use his hands to deal with others. In fact, even though Li Jiancheng was Li Yuan's eldest brother, he was also the prince and emperor of Li Tang, but he didn't know Li Yuanba very well. At least he didn't know the limits of his power at all. He only knew that Li Yuanba was said to have 2 arms with the power of 4 elephants. One hammer can weigh up to 400 kilograms. This strength is definitely unparalleled in the world. However, it is not a matter of strength that you will win in a war. If you only have strength without speed and martial arts, you will not be able to defeat a stronger one. Opponent. Of course, before this, except for Lu Feng, Li Yuanba had never encountered an opponent who could let him use his speed and martial arts. He only needed strength to defeat his opponent. Even when he defeated Yuan Chengdu with 3 moves, Li Yuanba simply showed his strength, but that time Yuan Chengdu didn't know that Li Yuanba was infinitely powerful, so he simply competed with Li Yuanba for strength and quickly lost. Li Jiancheng didn't know how strong Li Yuanba was, but he knew Pei Yuanqing very well. Among all the soldiers in the Tang dynasty, no one could catch his 5 moves. Although Pei Yuanqing's pair of 8-edged plum blossom bright silver hammers were not as heavy as Li Yuanba's drum-beating gold hammers, each one weighed 300 weighing a pound. His strength is not much worse than Li Yuanba. To read the underlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 558. And when competing with Li Tang's soldiers, Pei Yuanqing showed not only strength, but also quick speed and extremely high combat skills. Therefore, Li Jiancheng fully believed that Pei Yuanqing would definitely block Li Yuanba, or at least be able to entangle him and not be easily defeated by him. In fact, although there had been rumors among the Tang army that Li Yuanba defeated an army of 2 million by himself, and even killed more than 200,000, since the siege of Wei County by the 18th Root Army, Li Jiancheng did not believe it too much. After all, Li Yuanba and Li Shimin have a very good relationship, and this news spread from Li Shimin's army. Who knows if Li Shimin deliberately fabricated the story to make the forces hostile to him, or even Li Jiancheng feel scared. However, although Li Jiancheng had some doubts about Li Yuanba's ultimate combat effectiveness, what was certain was that he was definitely not something ordinary people could defeat. At least in his own army, except for Pei Yuanqing, he believed that no one could withstand Li Yuanba's blow. In addition, Li Yuanji had also told him a long time ago that Lu Feng, the emperor of the Dragon Kingdom, was also a powerful general. If he could fight Li Yuanba for days and nights without deciding the outcome, his lethality would definitely be no worse than that of Li Yuanba. It has to be guarded against. Fortunately, Lu Feng was the emperor, and with so many generals under his command, he probably wouldn't go into battle himself. This would somewhat relieve Li Jiancheng. At that moment, after receiving Li Jianquan's order, Pei Yuanqing, Wang Bodang, Shui Wanch, Feng Li and others also led an army of 2 million out of the city to prepare to face the Dragon Kingdom's army. Seeing the 2 million troops of the Tang dynasty coming out, he turned around and shouted to the longbowmen under his command, "Longbowmen, prepare, aim at the enemy, and shoot arrows for me." After Huang Zhong finished speaking, 100 steps behind him 3,000 longbowmen immediately drew their bows and prepared to release arrows. Li Jiancheng, who was on the wall of Lucca City, saw this scene and couldn't help but smile contemptuously and said to the people around him, "The veteran general of the Dragon Kingdom is too arrogant. He wants to cause harm to our 2 million army with only 3,000 archers. Moreover, this distance is more than 200 steps, and there is no way to cause harm." In response to Li Jianquan's words, Li Jing still stood aside and stared at the Dragon Kingdom army with a solemn face, while Fang Xianling, Du Ruhuai and others were also silent. Obviously they didn't call the other person's bluff. When the two armies are fighting, if they cannot cause damage to the opponent, then everything is empty talk. Since the other party has given such an order, there must be some way to cause harm to itself. Sure enough, as soon as Li Jiancheng finished speaking, he saw 3,000 longbowmen divided into 2 groups. As soon as the first group of 1,500 men loosened their hands, arrows flew out. What Li Tang's soldiers didn't expect was that the safe distance that they considered to be more than 200 steps was not safe at all, and 4,000 to 5,000 arrows flew directly towards them. That's right, 1,500 people fired in one round, shooting 4,000 to 5,000 arrows. Each person shot 3 arrows at once. After the first round of shooting, this wave of people retreated and prepared for the second wave. The man fired his arrow again. Ordinary archers only have a range of 50 or 60 steps, so Li Tang's army was not prepared to defend. In these 2 rounds of shooting, they immediately lost 5,000 to 6,000 people. Filu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 559. Although the longbowmen of the Long Kingdom were relatively small in number, they only killed more than 6,000 soldiers of the Tang dynasty in 2 rounds of shooting. Compared with 2 million, it was just a drop in the bucket. However, so many people were shot and killed by the enemy before the two sides had made contact, and even when one's own side was unable to cause harm to the enemy, it still brought a huge psychological shadow to the soldiers of the Tang dynasty. Moreover, the distance between the two armies is about 100 steps. During this period, the longbowmen of the Dragon Kingdom will keep firing arrows. If 3,000 people fall in each round, then before the two sides come into contact, at least nearly 20,000 people will be shot. Although it was only 1%, the opponent only used 3,000 archers to kill 20,000 of his own without any damage. This efficiency still made Li Jiancheng very depressed. At the same time, Wang Bodang, who had already left the city and was preparing to fight, couldn't help but feel excited when he saw how powerful the Long Kingdom's archers were. He is known as the Divine Arrow in White, and he naturally knows a lot about archery, and he has always had a dream to form such an archery unit. Unfortunately, he has not been able to do so either in Weigong or in the Tang dynasty. After all, in addition to ordinary training, archery is a kind of talent. Naturally, this talent is not possessed by everyone. Many first-class generals, even super generals, cannot go very far in archery. For example, Qin Kaiyan, Yu Qigong, and others whom Wang Bodang was very familiar with, although their martial arts were very good, their archery skills were only average at best. Even if they can shoot 100 steps away with their own arrows, the accuracy is difficult to guarantee, and they usually only shoot 2 arrows with 1 bow, and rarely can shoot 1 bow. After all, 1 bow with 3 arrows requires extremely high skills. Yes, those who are good at using arrows can do it, but if everyone in the entire archery unit can shoot 3 arrows with 1 bow, that's not. Not to mention that the shooting range of their entire team of archers can actually reach 200 steps away. But many famous generals couldn't do it, so Wang Bodang felt very or even a little scared, but more importantly, he was excited. To be able to train so many sharpshooters, or to be the leader of these sharpshooters, the white-haired veteran who just gave them orders must also be a great archery master. And it can be seen from the fact that he was able to accurately kill the soldier who was controlling the crossbow just now, that his archery skills are definitely not weak. For such a person, Wang Bo was inevitably a little excited. As two people who have certain attainments in archery, it would be a blessing if they could discuss the art of archery and compare with each other. Thinking of this, Wang Bodang became even more excited. He stopped paying attention to the others at the moment. Instead, he drew his bow and arrow, aimed at Huang Zhong and shot an arrow. Wang Bodang only aimed this arrow at Huang Zhong to attract Huang Zhong's attention instead of killing him. Not only was it not very powerful, but it was only aimed at the horse under Huang Zhong's crotch. However, he contained his murderous intention in it. In this arrow. After all, if Wang Bodang wants to compete with the opponent in archery, he must first attract the opponent's attention, but he cannot directly use his full strength to kill, otherwise the opponent will be completely defenseless. If he uses his archery skills to hit with all his strength, it will be very powerful. The opponent may be shot directly to death. Therefore, Wang Bodang was very particular about this arrow. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 560. Although the angle is wrong and the power is not great, the murderous intent on the arrow is indeed pointed at Huang Zhong. Any expert who uses arrows will definitely be able to feel the aura contained in his arrow and react accordingly. Of course, if the other party did not react, then his attainments in archery would not be worthy of Wang Bodang's attention. Even if he shot his horse, Huang Bodang would not feel any guilt. As a true master of archery, Huang Zhong naturally accurately captured the unique murderous intention brought by Huang Bodang's arrow when it was shot at him, and he didn't think much about it. Raise your hand and shoot an arrow. Although Huang Zhong didn't take the time to aim the arrow, his use of bows and arrows has long been instinctive in honor's blood. This arrow also flew accurately to Huang Bodang's arrow and met it in the air. After the impact, they both fell to the ground. When Huang Bodang saw this, he couldn't help but praise loudly, "Good archery skills, good skills." Huang Zhong asked himself that he had not provoked any enemies in this world of Sui and Tang dynasties, let alone who would contain that arrow. It has a unique killing intent, so after the arrow is shot, it will look for the person who shot the arrow in the direction of the arrow's source. Therefore, after Uncle Wang praised him, Huang Zhong knew that the arrow must have been shot by the man in white. Huang Zhong could feel that although the other party carried murderous intent in the arrow, he also knew that he did not use all his strength and did not aim at himself. It seemed that he shot it just to attract his attention. Therefore, even if the opponent attacked by surprise, Huang Zhong was not too angry. He just asked a little strangely, "Who are you and why do you want to attract my attention?" Huang Bodang wanted to compete fairly with Huang Zhong in archery. Naturally knew that he had to formally explain his identity to the other party and issue a challenge, so he said seriously, "I am Wang Yang, Huang Bodang, the pioneer general of the Tang dynasty. Because I am good at bow and arrow. I am loved by people in the world, and I have a white-robed magic arrow. I just saw that all the archery troops under the old general's command were very skilled in archery, so I guessed that if you were able to command this army, you must also be a person with great archery skills. So I was itchy and wanted to ask the old general for some advice. In order to attract the attention of the old general, I came up with this strategy to sneak attack you. Please forgive me for being rude." Huang Zhong is not an unreasonable person, and he can feel it from the arrow just now. Since the other party was able to incorporate murderous intent into the situation, he must also be proficient in archery. Moreover, the other party did not kill him and was so polite and courteous that Huang Zhong did not have any dissatisfaction in his heart. Moreover, Huang Zhong was able to achieve something in archery, which he was proud of. When he meets someone with superb archery skills, he would like to learn a few tricks from him. This is human nature. When he first joined Lu Feng, he competed with Lu Buletin and Tai Shi Ci in archery skills. As a result, he won with a superior move. Victory. At this time, since the opponent was known as the White Arrow, he must be the best in archery in this world, so he also started to compete. He nodded and responded, "I am the right general of the Dragon Kingdom's 5 dragons, Huang Zhong and Huang Hansheng, under the command of the Dragon Emperor. Since you are also good at archery, please teach me." Fei Lu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collection, recommendation.